Elvis stopped mid-song, dropped his microphone, and 20,000 people fell into deathly silence. The king of rock and roll stood frozen on stage, his white jumpsuit catching the spotlight as tears began streaming down his face. What happened next would become one of the most heartbreaking moments in music history. But to understand why Elvis Presley broke every rule of showmanship that night, we need to go back 3 hours earlier. Las Vegas, December 15, 1976. The International Hotel was buzzing with anticipation. Elvis was at the peak of his Vegas years, commanding audiences like no other performer alive. Backstage, his manager Colonel Parker was counting ticket sales while Elvis went through his usual pre-show routine vocal warm-ups, adjusting his costume, and that nervous energy that never quite left him before a performance. But tonight was different. As Elvis prepared for what would be his final show of the year, a small envelope was handed to him by a security guard. Inside was a handwritten letter from a mother named Sarah, accompanied by a Polaroid photograph of an 8-year-old girl with bright eyes and a radiant smile. The letter was simple but devastating. Mr. Presley, my daughter Emma has been fighting leukemia for 2 years. She's in the final stages now, and the doctors say she has maybe weeks left. She's your biggest fan and has been saving every penny of her allowance to see you perform. We managed to get front row seats for tonight's show. She doesn't know this might be her last chance to see you. Please, if you could just acknowledge her during the show, it would mean everything to her final days. Elvis read the letter twice, his hands trembling slightly. He looked at the photograph again. Emma's smile reminded him of his own daughter Lisa Marie. Without saying a word to anyone, he folded the letter carefully and placed it in his pocket, right next to his heart. The show began exactly as planned. Elvis emerged from the wings to thunderous applause, his presence commanding the massive arena as only he could. For the first 45 minutes, everything proceeded normally. He performed his hits, That's Alright, Heartbreak Hotel, Jailhouse Rock, and the crowd was eating it up. But his eyes kept scanning the front row, looking for the little girl from the photograph. Then, during Love Me Tender, he spotted her. Elvis stopped singing mid-verse, his voice catching in his throat as he locked eyes with Emma in the front row. The band continued playing for a few more bars before gradually falling silent, confused by their leader's sudden pause. 20,000 people shifted uncomfortably in their seats, wondering what was happening to their idol. Elvis stood there for what felt like an eternity, just looking at this brave little girl who was fighting the biggest battle of her short life. Subscribe and comment now, because what happens next will show you a side of Elvis that few people ever witnessed. Emma was smaller than he had imagined, wearing a pink dress that was clearly her very best outfit. Her hair was thin from chemotherapy, partially covered by a delicate headband. But her eyes, those eyes were shining with pure joy and excitement as she watched her hero on stage. She had no idea that Elvis knew about her condition, no idea that her mother had written that letter. What happened next broke every rule of professional performance. Elvis walked to the edge of the stage, never taking his eyes off Emma. He knelt down, bringing himself to her level, and motioned for her to come closer. Security tried to intervene, but Elvis held up his hand, a gesture that commanded absolute authority. The arena was so quiet you could hear individual heartbeats. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Elvis asked, his voice barely audible but somehow carrying across the silent venue. "Emma," she whispered, her voice trembling with excitement and disbelief. "Emma," Elvis repeated, and somehow the way he said her name made it sound like the most important word in the world. "I heard you're a very brave girl. Is that true?" She nodded, tears beginning to form in her eyes. Elvis reached into his pocket and pulled out one of his signature silk scarves, not one of the ones he threw to the crowd, but his personal one, the one he'd worn during his preparation for the show. "This is for you, Emma. Not because you're sick, but because you're strong. Stronger than anyone in this room tonight." But this is where the story takes its most incredible turn. The part nobody expected. Elvis stood up, walked back to his microphone, and did something he had never done in decades of performing. He changed the lyrics to "Love Me Tender" in real time, personalizing every line for Emma. Instead of, "Love me tender, love me sweet," he sang, "Emma tender, Emma sweet, you make my life complete." The arena erupted. Not with screams or applause, but with something deeper, a collective sob of emotion that rippled through 20,000 people. Grown men were crying. Hardened security guards wiped their eyes. Even the usually stoic Colonel Parker was seen dabbing at his face with a handkerchief. But Elvis wasn't finished. He gestured for Emma to join him on stage. Her mother hesitated, but Elvis's gentle nod reassured her. As Emma walked up the stage steps, Elvis met her halfway, taking her small hand in his. Together, they walked to center stage, where Elvis knelt beside her once more. "Folks," Elvis said to the crowd, his voice thick with emotion, "this is Emma. She's got more courage in her little finger than I've got in my whole body. And tonight she's going to help me sing." What followed was the most beautiful, heartbreaking duet in music history. Elvis sang, "Can't Help Falling in Love," while Emma hummed along, her small voice somehow harmonizing perfectly with the King's. The entire arena joined in, creating a chorus of 20,000 voices united in love and hope and heartbreak. After the song ended, Elvis did something that would become legendary among his inner circle. He removed his personal necklace, a gold cross that had been given to him by his mother Gladys, and placed it around Emma's neck. "This was my mama's," he told her. "And now it's yours. Whenever you're scared or lonely, you hold on to this and remember that the King loves you." Share and subscribe to keep this story alive forever. The show continued, but it was transformed. Every song became a dedication to Emma, every movement a gesture of love toward this brave little girl fighting her final battle. When Elvis performed, "He Touched Me," he sang it directly to her. During "My Way," he changed the final line to, "I Did It Emma's Way." As the evening concluded, Elvis made one final announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we've all witnessed what real courage looks like. Emma has shown us that love is stronger than fear, that hope is more powerful than despair. I want everyone in this room to remember her name, because she's taught us all what it means to be truly alive." The aftermath of that night became part of Elvis' legend. Emma's mother later revealed that her daughter lived not weeks, but months longer than doctors had predicted. She wore Elvis's necklace every day, and according to her family, would touch it whenever she felt afraid and say, "The King loves me." Emma passed away the following spring, but not before one final gift arrived at her home. Elvis had recorded a personal version of "Love Me Tender," with her name in the lyrics, along with a letter that read, "For Emma, who taught the King what real royalty looks like." The recording was never released commercially. It remained in Emma's family as their most precious possession. But word of that magical night in Vegas spread throughout Elvis's fan community, becoming one of the most beloved stories in his entire catalog of humanitarian acts. Elvis himself was changed by that encounter. His band members noticed that after that night, he would often scan the audience looking for children, elderly fans, or anyone who seemed to need a moment of connection. He began regularly stopping shows to acknowledge special guests, turning concerts into communion experiences rather than mere performances. The silk scarf Elvis gave Emma that night? It's now in a display case at Graceland, donated by her family with a plaque that reads, "For Emma, who reminded the King that love is the greatest performance of all." But perhaps the most lasting impact was on Elvis's approach to his music. After that December night, he began incorporating more gospel into his shows, more songs about love and hope and human connection. He once told his backup singers, "That little girl taught me that we're not here to entertain people. We're here to love them." The necklace Emma wore? Her family later revealed that she was buried with it, along with a note she had written. "Tell Elvis I'll save him a seat in heaven." That night in Las Vegas proved that sometimes the most powerful performances happen when we break all the rules, when we choose human connection over professional protocol, when we let love guide us instead of scripts. Elvis Presley may have been the king of rock and roll, but that night, he became something even greater, a man who understood that true royalty means serving others, especially those who need it most. The story of Elvis and Emma reminds us that legends aren't made by perfecting performances, but by perfect moments of humanity. And in a world that often feels cold and disconnected, we need more artists willing to stop mid-song, drop their microphones, and choose love over show business. What happened in the weeks following that magical night reveals the true depth of Elvis's transformation. His security team later revealed that Elvis had personally called every major hospital in Las Vegas and Memphis, offering to visit sick children. He established a private fund kept secret from the media that paid for medical treatments for families who couldn't afford them. Jerry Schilling, one of Elvis's closest friends, recalled how the king would carry Emma's photograph in his wallet from that night forward. He'd pull it out during quiet moments on the tour bus. Jerry remembered. He'd just stare at it and say, "That little girl saved my soul." He never forgot her smile, and more importantly, he never forgot the lesson she taught him. The impact extended beyond Elvis himself. Band members reported that the entire organization felt different after that December night. The backup singers, the sweet inspirations, began incorporating Emma's story into their own community work. Guitar player James Burton started a music therapy program for hospitalized children. Even the usually business-focused Colonel Parker quietly arranged for several Make-A-Wish-style encounters at subsequent shows. But perhaps the most profound change was in Elvis's relationship with his own mortality. Priscilla Presley later revealed that Elvis spoke often about Emma during their conversations about Lisa Marie. He would say that Emma taught him that life isn't measured in years, but in moments of love, Priscilla shared. He became more present with Lisa Marie, more intentional about creating memories that would last. The ripple effects continued long after Elvis's own passing in 1977. At his funeral, Emma's mother Sarah attended, carrying the silk scarf Elvis had given her daughter. She placed it on his casket with a note. "For the king who taught us that love never dies." That scarf was buried with Elvis, creating an eternal connection between the superstar and the little girl who changed his heart. In the decades since, Emma's story has become a beacon for other artists. Musicians like Bruce Springsteen, Garth Brooks, and Taylor Swift have all cited this moment as inspiration for their own humanitarian efforts. The Emma moment has become industry shorthand for when performers prioritize human connection over entertainment value. The Elvis Presley Charitable Foundation, established after his death, credits Emma's story as foundational to their mission. Every year on December 15th, the anniversary of that transformative show, they hold Emma's Night, where they honor artists who use their platform to serve others. Most remarkably, Emma's family later revealed that she had kept a journal during her final months. In it she wrote, "Elvis didn't just sing to me. He saw me. Really saw me. And for the first time since I got sick, I felt like I mattered again." Those words now appear on a bronze plaque at Graceland, reminding millions of visitors annually that true greatness lies not in commanding stages, but in commanding compassion. The recording of "Love Me Tender" with Emma's name? It was discovered in Elvis's personal archives 20 years after his death. The family was approached about selling it, with offers reaching millions of dollars. Instead, they donated it to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, where it plays softly in the family comfort rooms, continuing to bring healing to children and families facing their own impossible battles. What makes this story even more remarkable is how it has influenced modern medicine's approach to healing. Music therapists now cite the Elvis and Emma effect when explaining how personalized musical experiences can extend life and improve quality of care for terminally ill patients. Hospitals across America have implemented Name and Song programs directly inspired by what Elvis did that night in Vegas. The International Hotel in Las Vegas, now the Westgate, has preserved the exact spot where Emma sat that magical evening. A small, discreet plaque marks the seat with a simple inscription. "Here sat Emma, who reminded a king that love is the greatest song of all." Fans from around the world leave flowers, teddy bears, and handwritten notes at this sacred spot, creating an ongoing tribute to the power of compassion. Even today, nearly 50 years later, Emma's story continues to inspire. Music teachers use it to show students that technical perfection means nothing without emotional connection. Performers reference it when they feel disconnected from their audiences. And parents fighting childhood illness find strength in knowing that their children matter, that their battles are seen, that love truly is stronger than fear. Subscribe, share, and comment to keep stories like this alive, because in a world that desperately needs hope, sometimes we all need to be reminded that the King still loves us.